Hi, welcome to another episode of Beyond Just Fine. Today, I thought we'd talk about confidence. Now, once upon a time, my confidence was pretty much rock bottom. I didn't feel I had any. The seemingly simple everyday tasks that I didn't think I could achieve, like walking into a coffee shop and ordering a drink. For me, that was something that confident people did, and I wasn't one of them. Now, the thing is that I always believed as a child that confidence was something that you were born with. You either had it or you didn't. And if you had it, then you were one of the lucky ones and you could do all of these wonderful things. Now, I grew up with the belief that I was not confident. I grew up under a label that I was the shy kid. And the thing is that sometimes when we have those beliefs and we have those labels, we then live up to them. Even if we're not doing that consciously, it's that subconscious belief that's then leading us to then act in that way. Now, the thing is this is where most of our beliefs come from. They come from things that have happened to us as a child. And then we take those beliefs into our adult life. Now, our brain has this thing called the reticular activating system, which is basically a filter for reality. And what it is it's just taking all the things that we believe are important to us, and then it's filtering reality to then find all of the evidence to support that belief, which is then known as a confirmation bias. So you might have noticed this perhaps when you've thought about buying a new car and you've got a particular model in mind. And then all of a sudden you see all of these cars, all of that model on the road. And it's like all of a sudden everyone driving that model is out driving their car. No, it's just the fact that they were always there. But now we've told our brain that that's important to us. Our filter, our reticular activating system, is now finding all the evidence, is finding all of those things because that's now what we've told our brain matters to us. Now, that works the same even with our limiting beliefs, those stories that we tell ourselves we're not good enough, we're not lovable, we're not worthy, etc. So if we're going around thinking that we're not confident, then all of those things that happen to us throughout the day, throughout our life, is just then reinforcing that belief. Oh, well, that happened because I wasn't confident. Couldn't do that because I wasn't confident. So it's just about looking at those stories that we're telling ourselves and seeing if we can reframe them. I mean, confidence really, all it is just that belief that we have in ourselves, that belief that we have that self trust that we have in our capabilities, that we're going to be okay no matter what. Even if we fluff our lines doing a YouTube video, we're going to be okay. And that's all it is. It's just having that belief that, yeah, we're going to be fine. So no matter what, if we fall over and someone laughs, okay, bruises our ego a bit, but hey, we're still here. And by next week, we're going to forget about it all. So that's realistically all it is. I mean, I always think of Alison Hammond, the UK TV presenter, the amount of silly things that she does. Does she get flustered? Does she go, oh my goodness, what have I done? No, she laughs it off. She laughs about it. And because it's so funny and because she's laughing about it, we laugh along too. Even if you might think, oh my goodness, what is she doing now? But that is just having confidence. She has that confidence in herself that, you know what, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if she fluffs up, doesn't matter if she does all these silly things because she's still going to be okay. And that's really what confidence is. But like I said, more often than not, it's the beliefs that we've been instilled from our childhood that we're then carrying through into our adulthood, which is then is what driving those thoughts that we have as to whether or not we can or can't do things. So yeah, my confidence once upon a time pretty much rock bottom. And I knew then that I just had to change things. I couldn't go for the rest of my life not being able to go into Starbucks and order a coffee. I mean, it wasn't just that. There were so many other things that I wanted to do that I used to look around and used to feel, oh, if only I could do this. If only I could do that. And confidence isn't something that we're just born with and it's just potluck whether you get it or not. I learned from doing the inner work, I learned from doing all the courses to be a life coach that it's something that you can develop, you can build, and you can grow. So even if you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't have much confidence and I wish that I did, well, you can. There's things that we can do that can change that. It's not necessarily an overnight process, but there are gradual things that you can do that you can go from someone like me, who never even wanted to take selfies and post them on social media, to someone who can now make YouTube videos and put them out for the world to see. Pretty scary stuff. But that's only been in the last few months as well that I've had the courage to do this. This is, confidence is something you can continuously grow. It's not like you get to a point and it's like, yay, I've got all the confidence I need now. I don't have to worry about anything else. We can still keep doing things and building that confidence up. There's no limit, is there? Once we've got that bug, once we've got that realization that these things are possible, we can just keep going and keep going. Now, this is the thing, is that sometimes we always think to ourselves, well, when I have the confidence, I'll do this. When I have the confidence, I'll do that. But if we're waiting for the confidence, we may never do it. If I'd waited for the confidence to walk into that coffee shop and order a drink, I'd probably still be waiting. If I waited for the confidence to be able to record YouTube videos, probably wouldn't be listening to me now. So the confidence loop, as it's called, is just about taking that action regardless. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Set yourself a little task. What's something that you can do that's just outside your comfort zone? Not too scary, not too fearful, just a tiny little step. Take that step. When you take that action, that gives you the evidence that you can do it. And it was okay. All of those worst case scenarios we go over in our head, all those what ifs, they don't actually happen. It is just all of those thoughts that we're thinking that are holding us back. And then once we've achieved that thing, what was I so worried about? So we take the action. You've got that evidence you survived. That then gives you the belief that you're capable of these things, which then makes you want to take more action, which then gives you more evidence that you can do these things, gives you that belief, gives you more action. And that's the confidence loop. The more that you do things, the more you realize that you're capable of doing these things, the more that you want to do. You can go from someone who didn't want to post selfies on social media to someone who can do YouTube videos if you wanted to. Go from someone who couldn't even walk into Starbucks and order a coffee to someone who finds any excuse under the sun now to be able to go into a coffee shop and just sit there and watch the world go by. So it's just thinking about those stories that we're telling ourselves. Now, there is a quote from Henry Ford, and he says, if you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right. Now, I might have got that slightly wrong, but it's along those lines. But basically what he's saying is that whatever you believe is how your reality is going to be. So if you think that you're not confident, like I did once upon a time, then that's what reality is going to show for you, that you're not confident. So when we're thinking those thoughts in our head, maybe it's just reframing it a bit. Instead of saying to ourselves, well, I can't do this because I'm not confident. Maybe it's just saying, maybe I could just give this a try. Let's see what happens. Maybe I can do this. The thing is that our brain is wired to keep us safe. So this is why we tend to remember all the things that don't quite work out for us, because then we remember not to do those again because we don't want to feel those unpleasant feelings that came up when that happened. So this is sometimes another thing that holds us back, is we think, well, if we try and we fail, it's not going to be a nice feeling, is it? Ooh. But it's just trying, and if we fail, okay, well, what did that teach me? What did I learn from that? Is there something I didn't do then that I could do again? Or is there something I did do then that I could not do next time for it to be better? So it's just about being mindful of things like that as well. Not beating ourselves up when things go wrong. We're human. We're always going to make mistakes, but we can learn from them. Majority of inventors and entrepreneurs, they made so many things went wrong for them before things went right for them. They learned from those things that went wrong. There is Thomas Edison, who played a part in the invention of the light bulb, was known to have said, I didn't fail 700 times. I just found 700 ways that it didn't work. So when things go wrong, as inevitably they do, then it's just being mindful that, you know what, it's okay. We can still grow confidence from that. We can learn from what went wrong to then learn what to do next time. We can also look at all of those wonderful things that we did, because, like I said, sometimes we focus too much on the things that went wrong. We forget all the good stuff. And I'm sure there is plenty of good stuff. But again, it's that reticular activating system, that filter, always filtering all the things that are going to reaffirm those negative beliefs that we have. So it's just taking some time to think about what went right that day. And you can keep a log. You can keep like a confidence log of all of the good things that you've done. Whatever you did that made you feel confident, it doesn't necessarily have to be something that happened today or yesterday or last week. It could be something that happened from years ago. I mean, on my list, I've got things that I did as a child. When I was about 4, I sang in front of it was my cousin's birthday, and nobody asked me to. I just wanted to sing a song. No idea why I had that idea, but I did. I got up in a room full of people and sang. Don't know if it was any good, mind you, but the thing is that as a young kid, I had the confidence to do that, which then says to me that even though I grew up as a child believing I wasn't confident, there were certainly things that I did as a kid that showed that I was, but I'd forgotten about them. So it's just taking that time to think about all of those wonderful things that you've done that have made you feel good about yourself. Write them down. Go back to them to remind you on those days where you feel your confidence is challenged. Look at your list. Well, I did this and I did this and I did this. Do you know what? Maybe I am confident after all. There's an analogy that I absolutely love of this teacher that writes 10 sums on the board. And he writes 9 sums right, and one of the sums he writes incorrectly. And all the children are laughing. Sir, you've got that sum wrong. And he turns to them and he says, yeah, I did. I wrote 1 sum wrong, yet I wrote 9 sums right. And you focused on the one that I got wrong. And that's what we do. We tend to focus on the things that don't quite work out, and we forget about all the good stuff. So let's just remember all the good stuff. So even if there was something that didn't quite work out for you in that day, were there 9 other things that did? So maybe over an evening before you go to bed, you can just think about the day and think about all those good things that happened. And then what we're doing in that process is that we're then retraining our brain, retraining our filter to look for the good stuff. We can also do what's known as a confidence ladder. So if you've got a big thing that you want to achieve, a big goal that you want to achieve, but it seems so far out of your comfort zone that it's just pretty scary, the thought of doing it just fills you with such anxiety and such dread that it feels impossible, then we can just break it down, reverse engineer it. So for example, me with my wanting to go into a coffee shop. Now, like I said, at the time it was like, I don't know if I could do that. It seems really silly now looking back at how afraid I was, but it's not silly at all, because we're just human at the end of the day, and we all have different beliefs and different feelings, and sometimes we do go through life and simple things to other people seem really scary for us, and that's okay. Way back then, walking into a coffee shop, ordering a coffee, oh my god, filled me with such anxiety. But I thought I couldn't do it, so I just kind of broke it down a bit. And it was just taking that tiny little step out of my comfort zone. Well, what can I do that's going to help me get there, but isn't going to make me feel, all of this panic and dread? So I thought, okay, right, well, I actually did a plan A and a plan B. So my plan A was to go in the coffee shop, order my drink, sit there and drink it. And then, of course, all those worst case scenarios, all those what ifs start to come up. Well, what if I go in there, it's super busy? What if I go in there and I lose my nerve? What if I can't find a table and I'm standing there with my drink and everyone's looking at me, or you think everyone's looking at you, thinking, oh, what is she doing? Why is she standing there? All of that stuff that goes through your head. So I thought, okay, plan A is to go in there, order the drink, sit down, drink it. If I get there, I lose my nerve or it's too busy, my plan B is just to order the drink as a takeaway and go and sit in the park and drink it. Because even if I've achieved plan B, I've still achieved something on that list of the goal that I want to get to. So this is where that confidence ladder comes in. So if you've got that big thing that you want to go to, that you want to achieve, that seems so far out of your comfort zone that it's impossible, break it down. What's one small thing that you can do? Might still feel a bit scary, but it's not going to fill you with all that overwhelm and anxiety. Do that one thing, because once you've done it, you can then go and do something else as the next day or the next week. So I also set myself a list of tasks that I wanted to do. I had all these things that I wanted to achieve: going to the coffee shop and order a drink, go to cinema by myself, take myself off for the day somewhere. There's all of these things that I thought, you know what, I just want to be able to do these. And I wrote it all down. And then, like I said, I just did a gradual thing. Well, what one thing can I do slightly out my comfort zone that's bringing me on the path to achieving this? And then I just gradually worked my way through that list. And the satisfaction you get when you can tick something off, like I said, it's taking that action, having that evidence and that belief that, yes, you know what, I can do this. And it just makes you want to do more. And that's how I then built my confidence up. And like I said, it's not an overnight thing, unfortunately. It is a gradual thing, but it is possible. It's just being mindful of what are we telling ourselves, so the stories that we're telling ourselves, trying to focus on the things that we do that are good rather than the things that we do that are bad, and then just maybe setting ourselves a list of things that we want to achieve, and then just gradually working our way through them. Now, there's things that we can do on a daily basis to help as well. You may have heard of positive affirmations. Now, positive affirmations are short, powerful statements said in the present tense and in the first person. So, I am confident. Now, we can use positive affirmations. There's absolutely nothing wrong with using positive affirmations. They're a very important part of the process of doing inner work. But sometimes when we have those ingrained beliefs, we also can get that resistance when we're trying to change things. So we might be saying to ourselves, I am confident. And that little inner voice is going, are you sure about that? Confident? Who are you trying to kid? So sometimes positive affirmations, like I said, they do work. They're part of the process. We do have to do all the other stuff, looking at those limiting beliefs too. But if you're finding that you're saying them and you're getting that negative self-talk coming up, that resistance, then I read somewhere before, maybe change it to a question. So instead of saying, I am confident, trying to convince yourself that you are, when there's a little voice saying, no, you're not, then ask yourself the question, why am I so confident? Why am I so confident? Because what that then does is that then your brain goes, oh, are we confident? Oh, and that then helps the brain, that reticular activating system, look for the evidence. Well, maybe you are confident. Maybe we should be looking for the evidence here. So positive affirmations, like I say, do work, but if you're finding a lot of resistance with them, reverse it to a question. Why am I? Why am I so lovable? Why am I so confident? Why am I so successful? Because that then helps that your brain to reprogram all those negative beliefs. We can also journal. So, like I said just now, about at the end of the day, thinking about all the good things that you did that day. Journaling is a good way of trying to writing down all that evidence. Like I said, you can write down the list of all of those things that you've achieved, be it today, last week, last year, way back when. But you could do that on a daily basis before you go to bed at night. I combine mine with like a gratitude thing. So I just look at my day and I try to think of at least three things that were good about the day. And it doesn't necessarily mean three wonderful things that I did, just three things about the day that made me feel good. And it might be something really simple that I did. Maybe it was something that I achieved, like creating my YouTube video, for example, for today, or maybe receiving a nice comment on something that I've posted on social media. It's just something to help you feel good about yourself. And again, it's just about that mindset filter, trying to reframe it into something more positive. So our filter's looking for the good stuff and not always looking for the negative. So gratitude is a really good thing because it helps us. It helps with that switch in that perspective. And sometimes we can have really difficult days, and it's very hard some days to find the good and to be thankful for things because so much is going wrong, and that's okay. That's completely understandable. Like I've said, we're all human at the end of the day. We can't be expected to have good days every day, but even if it's something simple, just like you had a nice warm shower, you can be thankful for that. Be thankful that you had food to eat, got clothes to wear. There's always something simple, even if we're having those bad days. So there's lots of like little things that we can do, like I just explained, to be able to build our confidence. And there's just a few things. I mean, I'll probably do another podcast soon about confidence because it's quite a big area that we can cover. But there's just a few things to get you started. So like I said, even if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I don't have the confidence to do this, I can rest assured, once upon a time, that I did not have the confidence to do this for you today. So it is possible to make those changes. I just want to leave you with a question today to have a little bit of a ponder. What would you do today if you had the confidence? Have a think about that. What would you do? If you had the confidence, if I could wave a magic wand and confidence was suddenly, you're suddenly filled with all the confidence in the world, what would you do? How would you feel? What would you think? Have a think about that, because when you can start thinking about how you would feel, what would you think? How would you behave? How would you act? What would you do? Maybe try and do it. Do that little step. Start thinking those thoughts, because even just thinking about feeling confident can help you feel confident. Okay, so wishing you all the confidence in the world. I'll see you next time.